So here I am doing my thing, building up a little budget banger, and all of a sudden I get a message about someone wanting to trade an Xbox Series S for a gaming PC. And at the moment I am out of GPUs that would be around that price point in a PC to trade for a Series S. But I do have my little potato, so I said, look, this is all I can do at the moment. And they messaged me back and they said, sure, I want this thing. I want a PC ASAP. I got this Series S for trade. And they said, look, let's do this trade. So we're just gonna quickly check out what this PC is, and then we'll put it in the car and we'll go do the trade, and we'll talk about the PC market in general as well, especially for you guys who are trying to sell PCs right now. You want to know what the update is on the current PC market. I can help give you some answers, so let's get into it.
Do you feel like this when you see this? Well, if so, you can get rid of that Windows activation message with today's video sponsor SCD Keys for as little as $12 USD. After you use that coupon BFTYC, you can get activated today. Links in the description below.
So here's the PC right here. It's a GTX 460. I know, before you laugh, I did tell the person who wanted to trade it, I said, look guys, I don't have any GPUs like that are around Xbox Series S performance at the moment. I've sold out of them, and I said, this is all I can do right now. And they said, look, I just need a PC to do some gaming at the moment. Doesn't matter if it's a potato. So they wanted to really be on PC. Maybe perhaps they wanted to play some Dota 2 or something. And look, sometimes I don't ask. I just tell people, look, this is what I've got and this is all I can do for you. And they accepted. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna drop this in the car right now, go pick up this Series S. And we just got back now with the Xbox Series S, and we managed and we're going to stop at that word manage, and we're going to put a word before it, and that is micro. And so that's going to be micromanage. And basically in 2016, 2017, if you guys were following a lot of the used builds, I was micromanaging hard. And basically we're returning to that level again, where I'm going to be personally, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be micromanaging much more, as opposed to last year where I was doing a lot of macro, and that I was just getting builds, giving them quick cleanups, going through things a lot faster than I otherwise would because the real demand was there. And so it was more of a macro-based market last year where there was a lot more money flying around. So if you're one of those people who like to build PCs, and especially if you're like me and you like to resell them, or if you're in the market to even buy a PC, then you may be wondering why, if you're a buyer, prices for PCs are still considerably high, but if you're a seller, you can't really move your PC. You notice sales are slowing down. What I'm talking about in today's video is mainly going to be what I'm seeing here locally in Australia, especially to my experiences in buying and selling PCs, but it may be different where you are in the world. Some people in different parts of the world may have a little bit of a boom going on at the moment, especially if the government has different kinds of stimulus measures going through, different kinds of cycles going through your economy, and that you're emerging from lockdown, economic activities picking up. But those points aside, we'll get back to the real demand, because that's the most important thing when it comes to buying and selling anything really in this world. It's not so much the supply, it's so much the demand. You can have a product that doesn't exist and have no demand for it, and the price is going to be zero. But if you've got a product that's in supply and the demand is higher for it, then it will have a higher price. Now you're probably like, Brian, slow down for a second. What is this demand versus real demand? Well, when it comes to PCs, I would call this a weird sort of, this is one thing I'm going to be coining it myself because it's how I like to see things. And that is the amount of PCs for sale versus the amount of buyers wanting to buy those PCs. And so right now what we can see is there's a lot of PCs for sale. If I go to my local marketplace, it's easy to go get a gaming PC. There's quite a few of them available, but overall there are less gaming PCs on the market than there once was. And more importantly, it's getting harder for sellers to source parts at what the market wants to pay for a particular gaming PC with a particular set of specs. And hence this is where our problem starts to come in for the seller. But if we look at the amount of buyers in the market right now, I'd say it's a lot less than it was this time last year. So our real demand is low, but that's pretty much coming from the balance of last year where the real demand was ridiculously high. And remember, when people tell you that there's a balance to all things, they're not joking, because there literally is a balance to all things. And if you're trying to sell a gaming PC right now, it's just a simple procedure of you're simply going to have to become more competitive to get a sale, as opposed to last year where it was much easier to sell your PC. Now, what if you are a buyer? Well, here's where things get a lot more interesting in my opinion, because this could go two different ways. Now, one of these scenarios could mean that we get very cheap prices and you're able to build a gaming PC for very cheap for a certain amount of time. The other scenario would mean that we have ups and downs in prices, but it's really a slow market, and it's much like if you're trying to sell the PC, you're trying to buy the PC, the market is just going to suck. So we'll get on to the sucky scenario first.
So now I am wondering, Bryan, prices are still pretty high. I can't pick up a gaming PC for anywhere near the prices that I could get in, say, 2018 or 2019. What's going on?
And now this, in my opinion, has to do with a completely different thing in the market, known as what I've been talking about on the channel recently, known as stagflation. And that's basically inflation crossed over with low economic activity. In other words, real demand is going down, yet the real supply of products is also going down. And so that means higher prices still wins out in the end. And so that is a stagflationary environment in a nutshell for you guys. And so when we look at gaming PCs, the amount of people selling graphics cards, for instance, there's nowhere near the amount of people selling these things as there was before the pandemic started. But if we contrast that to the other parts like SSDs and DDR4 memory and cases, the manufacturers like Asus and MSI, they're resorting to bundling their graphics cards in with a lot of these products because the supply is actually much higher than the demand. And they don't want to lower the prices because they have what is known as a price floor, where if the prices go under that level, it's no longer profitable for them to make that product, so they therefore have to stop production. And so if we look at this vicious cycle of inflation, that could in the future mean higher priced SSDs, higher priced everything, if the supply is cut because it's more expensive to manufacture those parts in the first place. But as it stands for now, prices of these things are still pretty good, which is why I do suggest if you can build a PC minus the graphics card, or even just go with a cheap RX 470 or something like that, even though you're going to be overpaying for it in the current market, then you can wait it out until graphics cards do get cheaper, which don't worry, they will, because stagflation and inflation will hit the prices of cryptocurrencies where no one will have any money to buy them because they're a non-essential item. And as opposed to essential items, that's what people will need. And so they'll have to pay the higher prices for those, leaving them less money to pay for non-essential items. And that means the prices of those things will come down versus the prices of essential items, which will go up. And so going forward, there's going to be massive pressure. And this is what I've said in the past. There's going to be massive amounts of pressure on NVIDIA and AMD to do something to deter crypto miners from buying these graphics cards and getting them into the hands of gamers, because that means that all the other products that they sell for gaming PCs can then start being sold. Now, the second scenario related to that time frame really gets me excited, because what we're seeing here with graphics cards, NVIDIA and AMD and even Intel coming into the market, these guys want to keep pumping out these graphics cards as fast as they can, as many as possible, because the profit is just insanely high right now. However, if we hit this mark in the market where crypto profitability just goes plummets, which I think Ethereum have talked about from August, they're going to be dropping the mining profitability a lot, and also the move later on after that, which will mean that mining for Ethereum will be irrelevant altogether. And then of course, all those crypto miners will go to other cryptocurrencies, and then that will just tank the profitability. And so we'll see a massive sell-off of graphics cards, which will take everyone by surprise. And with all the other parts being cheap at the time, you'll see this great period of where you can build a PC for relatively cheap. Though that won't last forever, of course, because the cure for low prices is low prices, just like the cure for high prices is high prices. But this is where we start to see the idea behind especially what NVIDIA is doing, and that is putting in those hash rate limiters. because they want to only get the cards out to gamers now because they want to keep the market more in balance. Believe it or not, because when that other scenario happens, it's really bad, not just for their stock prices, but also for their sales. And that the gamers are then buying the used graphics cards rather than going to the stores and buying a new graphics card, which NVIDIA makes profit on one, but doesn't make any profit on the other. Though what about crypto and GPU prices? Here's where the next video that I'm gonna make, I'm gonna be talking about this directly. And although we have seen GPU prices drop and we have seen supply come back into stock, it's a little bit different to what anyone really envisioned. I was hoping by now we would have seen that rug already get pulled out from underneath crypto's feet, and we would have seen much cheaper GPU prices, that golden period for PC gamers. I hope that would have come about already, but it seems to be like we're halfway there, and all we need is that big catalyst. But NVIDIA and the forces to be will be stopping that as much as possible because they don't want that scenario to happen, and so they're trying to ease into those lower prices. But the good thing is if you've been holding off from buying an overpriced graphics card, you'll notice that the prices are coming down, and they will keep coming down because, again, the raw demand from gamers just isn't there this year versus what it was last year. So TLDR, if you are a seller in the market right now, then you're gonna have to really be a lot more competitive than you once were. For me, I'm gonna be micromanaging a lot more. And for me personally, I really enjoy the micro side of life just as much as I enjoy the macro. So you're probably like, well, Bryan, shouldn't you be down about this? And it's like, no, because this is what I do. And so I'm just riding the wave. It's like if you go to the beach, you just wait for that good wave to come along and then you ride it. And then the next one comes along and it might not be as good. So you can't predict how big the waves are gonna be on any given day. But one thing for sure is if you're out there riding long enough, then you may catch a good wave. But you might also get eaten by a shark. So the news for sellers isn't really that good, but if you're a buyer, then your patience has already paid off a little bit, especially when we compare it to May prices, and it's definitely going to get even better. Do not worry about that. Anyhow, guys, that's it from me today. If you have any questions or comments or experiences of your own, be sure to share them in the comments section below, and also be sure to hit that like button for us. And I was gonna ask for a sub, ring the bell if you stayed this far and you're enjoying the content, but I think the best way to do it is, I got told from someone just to go check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/TechYesCity, and then just bookmark the page, because YouTube's notifications, a lot of people are telling me they just get unsubbed, they don't see the content in their feeds. So at least if you just check on the content every couple of days, you'll be able to get it as soon as it drops that way. And with that aside, we do have the question of the day, which comes from Mr. Daxter Crane. And they ask, okay, Bryan, who gave you the ketamine? He's too jovial in this video. And lately I've been on higher spirits because I picked up, and this is a little thing, I picked up a gym for 250 bucks Aussie, and this thing goes for about 700 brand new. But the best thing about it was that I got this really good discount, and the guy even built it up for me. So he had barely used it. I think he said he'd used it twice or something over 6 months, but it was just such a nice gesture. So he bought it for $700, built it up for me, even tested it out, and then just gave me a massive discount. And this was such a nice guy. But on a serious note, that's the power of the used market. If you look at supply and demand and study it closely, then you can always pick up a deal. Never forget that. And so when we look at the home gym, at least where I am locally, things are opening back up again, gyms are opening up, and so people are going back to the gym, and then people who bought these products thinking that they would need them no longer need them, or they got tired of them very quickly. And so you can get a bargain if you're in the right place at the right time. And that's always going to change in relation to what market is popping and booming at the time. I'm sure if this was 6 or 7 months ago, I wouldn't be able to find a home gym like this for anywhere near the money. I'd have to go buy it brand new, and the prices of the brand new gyms would have been a lot more. So patience is a critical factor. Never get caught up in the hype, because you'll probably end up in the long run missing out. Anyhow, guys, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out for now. Bye.